Hey everybody, Doug Lorcana back here with another video. This time I'm covering a set rotation wish list where I'm going to be talking about which decks that which cards I'd like to see rotated out with the release of Fabled or set 9. I go over, not all of these cards are massively problematic. They're just cards that I think either limit design space or cause some issues with just being slightly too powerful, or are too powerful with some cards that exist in the sets that are not rotating. So we'll go through each of these cards. I think I've got 15 here. I limited myself to 15. Some of them way more powerful than others, obviously, and some a little less. But yeah, we'll start off with Cinderella. I think Cinderella is arguably okay. I'm kind of putting her here only because I kind of wanted to have an Amber card in here, and she's probably the most problematic one, the least amount of counterplay one, I'd say. The counterplay is playing a character with 3 toughness or greater on turn 1, or not playing a character such as Popsicle or, just a location or something. But the issue with this card is partially due to another card on this list, Strength of a Raging Fire, and also Let the Storm Rage On, which is not on this list. Just the power of her being able to answer any character on turn 2. It's just a little too oppressive, and I think it limits the design space of the 3-cost songs that can be printed in Amber and other colors. So that's why she's there. She's definitely not like my most wished rotation. If she's reprinted, I'm kind of okay with it. I just kind of wanted to throw her in there. That way I would have an Amber card. Next, we have Mr. Smee, which this is one of the cards that I really hope does get rotated out. He's kind of been dictating the meta in a sense. He's got that 3/3 stat line, which is phenomenal. Survives Let the Storm Rage On. Survives a 2/2 1-drop. Survives Brawl. Survives Sisu Wipe. He's just a beefy boy, and also is a great Rapunzel target. You could make a case that Rapunzel should be on this list, but I'm biased, and I think Rapunzel kind of needs to stay unless they print something else in order to keep certain decks viable, like Amber Ruby, for example. You remove Rapunzel and Amber Ruby can't be played at all. They could replace it with something else, so there is a case that Rapunzel should be on this list, and they should just reprint her in Amber Ruby. Anyways, Mr. Smee's been a little too powerful for a 2-drop. He quests for 2. Honestly, if he didn't quest for 2, he would still be a decent card. That's the problem with him. Next, we have Prince John. I'm a firm believer in the fact that ward characters should not have static effects, because there is very little interaction. I think static effects belong a lot better on items, and I think that more colors should get more answers to items. As of right now, there's only Steel, Sapphire, and Emerald that can deal with items reliably. Amethyst, Ruby, and Amber can't deal with them effectively. Amber can use the Bare Necessities to get rid of it from the hand. Ruby has no way of doing it, and I believe Purple can bounce some items, but bouncing doesn't really do much. Anyways, Prince John, he's just problematic. You completely ignore his stats, and it's the fact that whenever your opponent discards a card, you draw a card for each card discarded that way. And he has ward, so it's just low interaction and not fun gameplay. And I hope he's probably number 1 on this list for a card I wish to get rotated out. Either him or Popsicle, probably. Anyways, we'll move on to Lawrence. I have got him here mostly for the same reasons as Mr. Smee, though he's a 3-cost, and there are other 3-costs that kind of can compete with Lawrence, such as the 3-cost Sisu. He's just a little too overstated right now, especially whenever he's paired with Amber or Purple, because you can either bounce him to get his stats back, or you can heal him to get his stats back. He's just a bit too strong, power-wise. Again, similar to Smee, if he didn't quest for 2, he would definitely see play. He would definitely still be good. Not sure about seeing play. Moving on, we have Merlin Rabbit. This is arguably a hot take. A lot of these are considered, in my opinion, hot takes. But Merlin Rabbit, a lot of people will think, well, no one really plays it right now, this meta. And yes, that's true. But if you go on to the next set with a much slower meta, because a lot less cards will be played, and that just means there's less optimal lines, which means the game will naturally be slower. Merlin Rabbit thrives in those metas, because if you have a slow turn, what you can just do is play Rabbit, bounce Rabbit, replay Rabbit, just to draw more cards. Or if your opponent had a slow turn when you're playing red-purple control. And because of that, I think Rabbit kind of needs to go. I may be wrong, though. Maybe the meta doesn't slow down, but I think Rabbit is just a little too strong in what I'm expecting to be the meta post-rotation. Next, we have the Muses. Kind of the same reasoning as Prince John. She's definitely less oppressive than Prince John is. Well, they are less oppressive than Prince John is. But if I'm going to use that argument for why Prince John needs to go, then the Muses also needs to go. I can't be hypocritical. A static effect on a warded character is low interaction and unfun gameplay. And then next, Cogsworth, for the exact same reasons, a static effect on a warded character. Cogsworth is a little slower. He comes out on turn 5, so he's a little more justified. He comes out a little earlier due to him being in Sapphire, but I think the Muses, Cogsworth, and Prince John's effects should exist on items instead, and they should add more item removal to the game. Moving on, we have Sisu, and this is one where I think a lot of people may be questioning. Yes, Sisu isn't that bad on her own, and honestly is arguably good for the health of the game, giving Ruby a good one-sided board wipe into very aggressive, greedy shells. But the issue is Ravensburger made a mistake with printing Sapphire Coil, in my opinion, and has turned this card into a ridiculous card. Like, I'm playing games and I've got two Sapphire Coils on board, and all of a sudden I can take out, I don't know, let's say something with 6 strength with this card, or something with 5 strength with the smaller one. At least the smaller one only hits one thing, but this Sisu, if I've got coils on board, can wipe a board regardless of what their strength is, and that's not really how the game's supposed to be designed for her. She is supposed to be a punishing card against greedy boards that are going low strength. Occasional Ice Block. Like, I think with Ice Block she was a lot more fair, because Ice Block can only trigger once per turn, unless you're readying it. I think there's some Sapphire cards that can ready your items, but regardless, with Ice Block she was very fair, in my opinion, but with Sapphire Coil, the fairness has kind of gone out the window on this card. I would like to see her return as a dual ink card, like maybe a Ruby Amber card, Amber Ruby card, or maybe a Ruby Amethyst card as well, because in those shells she's not oppressive. She's mostly just oppressive in Sapphire due to Sapphire Coil, and honestly, if they ban Sapphire Coil, I don't think they'll need to, but if they do, then I am perfectly happy with Sisu returning. As an Amber Ruby player, I think she's a very good card and very helpful in keeping Amber Ruby as a color combo viable, but I think Sapphire Coil just makes her way too oppressive. Moving on, we're going on to arguably one of the strongest cards in the game. It's a 3-cost song, Friends on the Other Side. It draws 2 cards. Like, people are really underestimating how valuable card draw is in this game. Friends on the Other Side is just ridiculous. You can play it for free and draw 2 cards. That is insane. It thins your deck, finds what you need. It generates you card advantage for no cost, effectively, other than exerting your character. It's just a phenomenal card, and in my opinion, it should be reprinted. Do I think it will be reprinted? Not necessarily, because it's not incredibly oppressive like some of these other cards on the list are. But I think they could be a little more unique or creative with the way they're having cards drawn in this game so far. Like, there's a little too much free draw going on in purple. Yes, I get purple's the draw color, but it might be, I think it's a little too extreme, especially now that we have Finders Keepers as well. I think Friends on the Other Side compared to Pull the Lever. I think Pull the Lever is a great example of what we'd rather see than Friends on the Other Side. And also, I think the idea of Pull the Lever being in the game as well as Finders Keepers makes me believe that Friends on the Other Side might be already eyed for being rotated out. Maybe that's why they printed Pull the Lever. Nothing too much more to say on this card, but it's very powerful draw song. Next, we have Strength of a Raging Fire, and arguably, in my opinion, this is the most overtuned card on this list here. The fact that in Amber Steel, you can take, actually any Steel deck, on curve, you can answer almost anything in the game. It's just kind of ridiculous on an inkable song that's played for free. I think Light the Fuse, the newer card, is similar to Friends on the Other Side, seeing Pull the Lever being printed. Light the Fuse is a good, in my opinion, a very cool alternative that also signals that they are eyeing to rotate out this card. It is very problematic. It's incredibly frustrating that you're on the draw into Steel Song and you play a Ruby Sisu, which has 4 toughness, and it gets killed instantly without them losing a beat because it's Sang. It's way too overtuned. Especially for an inkable card on top of that. Light the Fuse is a lot more fair version of this. Moving on, we have Popsicle, which I absolutely am praying. I'm on my knees begging Ravensburger to rotate this card out. We've seen way too much of Bell Popsicle turn 1 shenanigans with Blurple and Red-Blue for this to just be justified. This card is way too strong, and I really hope it rotates out. We're also seeing Tamatoa Happy as a Clam being a little too powerful with it. If you remove Popsicle, that Bell card and that Tamatoa card, those 2 cards become significantly more fair, and also it doesn't limit the design space as much, so you can print more 1-cost items without worrying about Bell becoming too powerful, because the most optimal item on one Popsicle is no longer available for her. Similar for Tamatoa. Next, this one, you guys are probably scratching your chins at seeing this on the list, Vision Slab. I've been seeing it by some very, very intelligent Green Steel local players, playing it as an answer to Amber Steel and into Blurple. Blurple using Popsicle often, or Bell for a lot of their control. And man, is this card ridiculous. It's extremely limiting. Also, I'm not the direct. I've been playing a lot of Amber Ruby locally layly, and I'm just seeing how limiting this card is. The people I've been seeing play this card aren't playing it as anti-Amber Ruby technology. They're not targeting me or anything with this, but I'm feeling that if I play against this card, it completely shuts down and makes an entire ink combination unplayable, and I think that's a problem for the game. I think the idea of it is really cool. I think the first half of the text on it is awesome, and I think it should be a 2-cost item with that first effect. But the fact that you can't remove damage is way too powerful. I think maybe on a character it's fair, a little more fair because the character then has to stay alive. But I think on an item it's way too powerful. And let me focus on, let's make sure this character doesn't have ward if they put that effect on them. Moving on, we've got Maurice's Workshop. We've been seeing how incredibly powerful this is lately, especially over the weekend with red-blue items dominating the meta. Maurice's Workshop, yes, it's probably a lot worse if Popsicle rotates out, but it kind of limits your item availability. Do I think it absolutely needs to be rotated like Popsicle? No. I would say it's definitely not in the top 5 on this list, but we're seeing that it can be a problem if some items are printed that are a little too strong. Next, we have Lucky Dime. Kind of similar stance as, not necessarily Maurice's Workshop, but just the problematic part of this card is that half the decks can't answer it. And there's a lot of cards that make even the decks that do answer it feel like their answers aren't enough. Like, for example, you play Benja on a Lucky Dime, well, they just play Tamatoa and bring it back for free. Either Tamatoa. And that's a problem in my opinion. I would prefer if the Tamatoas are both rotated out, but with one of them existing, the other one being rotated out becomes relatively negligent. Like, for example, Happy as a Clam can't rotate out as it's too recent. So, in my opinion, the best thing they can do is take out the other half of it, which is the Lucky Dime. And then finally, we have McDuck Manor. We've been seeing with DKP's list just how powerful, DKP's Ruby Sapphire list, just how powerful and oppressive this card can be. It's, if you be prepared an opponent and you're at 11 ink, you drop this down and you're just going to get free lore, because over time they're going to have to either choose, oh, do I have to just try and get to 20 before they do with their manor, or do I deal with the manor? And regardless of what it is, in red-blue, you'll probably have an answer to whatever they play after the Be Prepared that they choose to play to answer your manor or to get to that 20 lore. And you just casually get your lore from this card. I think, yeah, this card is too powerful. But yeah, in summary, these are the cards that are on my rotation wish list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, what your rotation wish list is. Definitely not expecting all of these to be rotated out. I think these are just good candidates, in my opinion, for rotation. The only ones I'd probably desperately want to see rotated out are probably Mr. Smee, Prince John, Muse's Cogsworth for the same reasons as Prince John, Sisu because of Sapphire Coil, Popsicle because of Bell and Tamatoa, Vision Slab because the card makes some decks, notably mine, I'm definitely biased here, completely unplayable, and then Strength of a Raging Fire being my absolute most wanted because it just, as long as the opponent gets it, it can answer whatever they want, and that's extremely problematic. I do think Friends on the Other Side and Merlin Rabbit are also very good candidates for rotation, mostly just because I think post-rotation, if these aren't rotated out, they're going to be incredibly popular. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you guys think should be rotated out. Let me know if you think something on this list should not be rotated out. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video.